Hi and welcome back. Hope everyone is doing well. So today I'm taking you guys to Africa, specifically to Cameroon, where I'm originally from. And I'm going to show you guys how to make one of Cameroon's party dishes. It's called Egusi Pudding. Curiously enough, I was like, let me just check on Amazon. And lo and behold, Amazon is selling Egusi, ground melon seeds from Africa. If you're not from Africa and you want to try this dish, and where you live you don't have Afro-Asian stores, you can get Egusi from Amazon. I just checked and they do have it. So these are cooked tied in leaves. If you live where you can't find leaves, luckily for me, I could find banana leaves. In Africa, we use plantain leaves. Out here in Afro-Asian stores, you will easily find banana leaves. So I found some banana leaves. I'm going to use that. But if where you are, you can't find any of the leaves, I'm going to use parchment paper. Back in the day, we used to cook in foil paper or in plastic. But thank God, things have evolved. You don't need to cook in plastic or in foil paper. You can use parchment paper. It's a lot healthier. So if you don't have any leaves, you can totally try this out with parchment paper. I'm going to start with the leaves. Before using the leaves, we have to prep the leaves. In Africa, we'll just pass them through fire and they'll get softer. So you can, they can be easily malleable without breaking up. So you have to do it on your stove top. It's so long, I'm gonna cut this a little bit extra. Okay, I'm just gonna pass this through the fire. Make sure every little part of the leaves gets touched by the fire. After passing the leaves through fire, they look like this. I'm just gonna wash them and keep them aside. To wash them, you just have to be gentle. Just rub them with your both hands like that. If not, you're gonna make holes everywhere, just like this. That's how you wash your leaves. Talking about spices for this dish, it's cooked with the broth that you get from cooking your meat or fish or whatever. That's what you use to mix into the pumpkin seeds, the ground pumpkin seeds, to hydrate them before you tie them in leaves. So whatever spices you use to cook your meat, it's going to taste that way. So today I'm using dried porcini mushrooms, which I have already in a pot with some water to hydrate it. I'm going to season with some fresh spices. I've got some chopped up red onions, like a small red onion. I used about an inch of ginger, which I roughly grated. And then about 6 to 7 garlic cloves, which I used my garlic press to crush and add it to the food. I added about a teaspoon of already ground hot pepper. I also added about a teaspoon of onion powder, oregano, sage, liquid aminos for salt. One spoon of powdered miso. It was done in 10 minutes. When it was done, I took out the mushrooms and cut them into smaller pieces before using them in my pudding. I then measured out 3 cups of ground melon seeds in a bowl. Next up, I'm going to use the broth from the mushrooms to mix into my pumpkin seeds to get a wet paste. So for consistency, you don't want something too thick or too watery. It just has to be right, that it can hold in your leaf without dripping off if it's too wet or too thick. If it's too thick, it's gonna be too hard when it cooks. So I'm gonna mix it and then show you what the consistency you're looking for should be like. I added a quarter teaspoon of ground black pepper into the broth before adding the rest of the broth into the pudding. So you always want to add your broth and mix as you go to avoid, putting too much liquid and then you don't have enough paste. So you put a little bit, you mix, and then watch for the consistency you're looking for. That's how to do it. Always taste for salt. If you need a little more salt or seasoning cube, you add it before adding the rest of your meat, and then mix everything together. So you can see the consistency. It is not too wet, it is not thick. This is perfect. There's a perfect consistency you're looking for to be able to, put it in a leaf without it falling off, dripping off. Yeah. So that's the final consistency. And then I added 1 tablespoon of olive oil as a binding agent. No egg needed. No excess oil needed. Now we tie them in the leaves. That's what we do. Okay. So I have it like that. I'm just gonna lock it like this. I could just fold it and it's good and put it in a pot. But to make it more secure, I'm just gonna wrap this foil paper around it like so. And then I fold both sides like so. And it's ready to go in my pot. Now, if you didn't have leaves, I'll show you how to use parchment paper. Notice I'm using foil paper just to hold everything in place. I'm not cooking in the foil paper. Okay, so I put my pudding in the parchment paper, fold it over a few times, to lock it, and then I use the foil paper to just, roll it around it to cover it. So do not cook directly on foil paper. Okay, so all right, and then I lock this edge and I lock that edge. You can actually cook this in a pot of water, but I have my steamer pot here, so it's not actually touching the water. I'm just gonna use that. Okay, so I have water underneath. I'm just gonna steam cook it like that. It's gonna take at least 1 hour. Yeah, sometimes I use a big pot if I'm making a lot more. I just use an old cover that I'm not using under the pot to suspend the pudding and then add the water underneath, and it still cooks the same way. So you can totally use a pot or a steamer pot. It works the same. After 1 hour, it was done. So I'm going to show you the one I used the parchment paper with. That's what it looks like. So you can eat this with any tuber, like cassava, plantain, cocoyam, or yam, or taro root, anyone you have. Okay, in Cameroon, we mostly eat it with fermented yuca. It looks like this. They ferment the yuca, tie it in leaves and cook it. And when you take it out of the leaf, this is fermented yuca. It's delicious. Fermented foods are good for you. Cassava, that's what it looks like. So they just cut them like that. This is a delicacy. It's not something they cook every day. Of course, pumpkin seeds are expensive, so it's like a special meal. You don't eat this every day. Now, notice I didn't use any eggs, and I used just a tablespoon of oil. You don't need all that oil. You don't need even the eggs. I don't eat eggs, and it's still gonna come out fine. There's no beef in here, just mushrooms, and it's still gonna be delicious. It is delicious. Even if you're not from Africa, you can totally try this and enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more wholesome recipes. And if you would like to check out other African recipes, I'm going to link one right up here so you can check it out and try it. We make good food in Africa. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.